For years, Tab Hunter seemed to be the perfect Hollywood dream. With his golden hair, dazzling smile, and effortless charm, he became one of the biggest heartthrobs of the 1950s. Movie studios adored him. Magazines couldn't print enough photographs of him, and millions of fans across America imagined what it would be like to date the handsome young actor. To the public, Tab Hunter represented everything Hollywood wanted a leading man to be: confident, talented, attractive, and endlessly desirable. Yet behind the flashing cameras and glamorous premieres was a man carrying a secret so powerful that revealing it could have destroyed everything he had worked to achieve. While audiences saw Hollywood's perfect boyfriend, Tab Hunter was living a far more complicated reality, one that required constant caution, extraordinary courage, and a lifetime of carefully balancing truth against survival. The entertainment industry of the 1950s was vastly different from the world we know today. Studios carefully controlled every aspect of a star's public image. Actors were expected to fit specific molds, and anything that challenged those expectations was often hidden from public view. For someone like Tab Hunter, the pressure was immense. His popularity depended not only on his talent, but also on the image that had been created around him. Fans wanted a romantic leading man, and Hollywood was determined to give them exactly that. The problem was that the image being sold to the public did not fully reflect the man behind his fame continued to rise. Tab Hunter became one of the most recognizable faces in America. His films attracted large audiences, his music career found success, and his presence alone could generate headlines. Everywhere he went, people admired him. Yet success brought a unique burden. The more famous he became, the more difficult it became to separate his public identity from his private life. Every interview required careful answers. Every appearance demanded perfection. Every rumor carried the potential to create problems that could threaten his career. What many people did not realize was that Tab Hunter often felt trapped by the very success that made him famous. While fans celebrated the glamorous life they imagined he was living, he was navigating challenges that few people around him could fully understand. The fear of exposure was a constant reality in an era when public attitudes were far less accepting. One mistake, one headline, or one scandal could potentially erase years of hard work overnight. Hollywood's golden age was built on illusion. Studios created larger-than-life personalities and sold them to audiences around the world. For many stars, maintaining those illusions became a full-time job. In Tab Hunter's case, the divide between public perception and personal reality was especially significant. The pressure to maintain appearances affected not only his career, but also his relationships, his choices, and his sense of identity. While millions admired him, very few knew the complete story. Despite these challenges, Tab Hunter continued moving forward. He refused to let fear completely define his life. Behind the scenes, he developed meaningful friendships and relationships while continuing to build a successful career. Although he often faced obstacles that today's performers might never experience, he remained remarkably resilient. His ability to endure years of scrutiny without losing his sense of self became one of the most impressive aspects of his story as the decades passed. Hollywood itself began to change. Cultural attitudes evolved. Conversations about identity became more open, and stories that once remained hidden started finding their way into public discussion. For Tab Hunter, these changes created opportunities to finally speak more honestly about experiences he had spent much of his life protecting. The secret that once threatened his future gradually became part of a larger conversation about authenticity, acceptance, and personal freedom. When people look back on Tab Hunter's legacy today, they often see more than a handsome movie star. They see a man who survived one of the most restrictive periods in entertainment history while preserving his dignity and humanity. His story serves as a reminder that behind every carefully crafted celebrity image exists a real person with hopes, fears, struggles, and dreams. The world may have known him as Hollywood's best boyfriend, but the truth was far more complex and far more inspiring in many ways. Tab Hunter's greatest achievement was not simply becoming a star. It was enduring years of pressure while remaining true to himself in the ways that mattered most. His journey reveals the hidden cost of fame and the extraordinary strength required to live authentically when authenticity comes with risks. Long after the movie posters faded and the magazine covers disappeared from newsstands, the deeper story of Tab Hunter continued to resonate with new generations. Today, his life stands as both a fascinating chapter in Hollywood history and a powerful lesson about identity, courage, and perseverance. Beneath the polished image that captivated millions was a man determined to protect his truth until the world was finally ready to hear it. And when that truth eventually emerged, it transformed the way many people viewed not only Tab Hunter, but also an entire era of Hollywood itself. As Tab Hunter's fame reached extraordinary heights, the demands placed upon him grew even greater. Success often appears glamorous from a distance, but for many Hollywood stars, fame comes with invisible costs. Every public appearance became part of a carefully managed image. Every interview was expected to reinforce the version of Tab Hunter that studios wanted audiences to see. Fans admired the confident leading man on movie screens, yet few understood the emotional weight that came with constantly living under the spotlight. The pressure to satisfy public expectations could be exhausting, especially when personal truth and public perception seemed to exist in completely different worlds. The entertainment industry during that era was built upon strict rules and unwritten expectations. Careers could rise overnight, but they could also disappear just as quickly. Scandals were feared, rumors were closely monitored, and image was often treated as valuable as talent itself. In such an environment, stars learned to protect themselves by revealing only carefully selected parts of their lives. For Tab Hunter, this meant navigating a system that demanded conformity while privately dealing with realities that did not fit Hollywood's preferred narrative. Yet despite these challenges, he continued to demonstrate remarkable professionalism. Directors praised his dedication. Colleagues respected his work ethic, and audiences remained captivated by his screen presence. He appeared in successful films, expanded his career opportunities, and became one of the defining faces of his generation. To many observers, his life appeared almost perfect. However, perfection can be one of the loneliest masks a person wears. The greater the success, the greater the effort required to maintain it. There were undoubtedly moments when Tab Hunter questioned whether the sacrifices were worth it. Fame offered wealth, recognition, and opportunity, but it also demanded silence. While other people freely shared details about their personal lives, he often had to measure every word. While others could openly pursue happiness, he faced limitations imposed not only by society, but also by the entertainment industry itself. The contrast between public admiration and private restraint created tensions that followed him throughout much of his career. What makes Tab Hunter's story particularly compelling is the resilience he displayed. Many people facing similar pressures might have become bitter or withdrawn. Instead, he continued building relationships, pursuing creative projects, and finding ways to maintain optimism. Friends often described him as kind, genuine, and grounded despite the enormous pressures surrounding his career. Those qualities helped him survive an industry that could be both rewarding and unforgiving as years passed. New generations of actors enter Hollywood. Cultural shifts slowly began reshaping public attitudes, and conversations that were once considered impossible gradually became more common. The entertainment world was changing, although progress often came slowly. For someone who had spent years protecting aspects of his private life, these changes represented something significant. The possibility that honesty might someday be met with understanding rather than judgment. The evolution of society allowed many people to revisit the stories of stars from previous generations. Historians, journalists, and fans began examining the realities hidden behind Hollywood's carefully constructed images. In doing so, they discovered that numerous performers had lived with challenges similar to those faced by Tab Hunter. Their experiences revealed a side of entertainment history that had long remained concealed from public view. Suddenly, stories that once seemed isolated became part of a much larger narrative about identity, acceptance, and personal freedom. For Tab Hunter, the later chapters of life brought opportunities for reflection. With the passage of time came a deeper appreciation for the journey he had traveled. He had witnessed Hollywood's golden age, survived its pressures, and lived long enough to see many of the barriers that once defined the industry begin to fall. His experiences gave him a unique perspective on both the progress that had been made and the challenges that still remained. Perhaps one of the most remarkable aspects of his legacy is how it continues to resonate decades after his rise to fame. Younger audiences who discover his story often find themselves fascinated not only by his success, but also by his perseverance. His life serves as a reminder that history is rarely as simple as it appears. Behind every glamorous photograph and every successful film lies a human story filled with complexities, struggles, and moments of extraordinary courage. The image of Tab Hunter as Hollywood's perfect boyfriend remains an important part of his legacy. It represents an era, a style of filmmaking, and a type of stardom that captured the imagination of millions. Yet the deeper story behind that image is what truly endures. It is the story of a man who faced immense pressure while striving to remain true to himself. It is the story of someone who understood the cost of silence and the value of authenticity. And it is a story that continues to inspire people who face their own challenges in balancing public expectations with personal truth. As historians continue exploring the hidden chapters of Hollywood's past, Tab Hunter's journey stands among the most compelling examples of resilience in the entertainment industry. His life reminds us that courage is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes courage is found in persistence, in dignity, and in the determination to keep moving forward even when circumstances demand extraordinary sacrifices. Those qualities transformed him from merely a movie star into something much more enduring, a symbol of strength, authenticity, and survival. The world first embraced Tab Hunter because of his charm, talent, and undeniable screen presence. But the reason his story continues to matter today goes far beyond fame. It endures because it reveals the human being behind the celebrity image. It reminds us that even the brightest stars carry hidden struggles, and that true greatness is often measured not by popularity, but by the courage required to live through difficult realities while preserving hope for a better future. By the time Tab Hunter entered the later stages of his career, Hollywood itself had become almost unrecognizable compared to the industry he first joined as a young man. The studio system that once controlled every aspect of a star's life had weakened, and a new generation of performers was beginning to define success on different terms. Yet for Tab Hunter, the memories of those earlier years never completely disappeared. He remembered the excitement of his first breakthrough, the overwhelming attention from fans, and the countless moments when he had to carefully navigate a world that demanded appearances above all else. Looking back, it became clear that his career had been built on more than good looks and charisma. Many handsome actors had come and gone over the years, but very few remained part of Hollywood history decades after their peak popularity. What separated Tab Hunter from many of his contemporaries was his remarkable ability to endure. He survived changing trends, shifting public tastes, and personal challenges that could have easily ended another career. Time revealed a strength that always existed beneath the polished exterior. The passage of years also allowed audiences to see him in a new light. No longer viewed solely as a teen idol or romantic leading man, he became appreciated as someone who represented a significant chapter in entertainment history. Film historians examined his work, biographers explored his experiences, and fans gained a deeper understanding of the obstacles he faced. The more people learned about his journey, the more admiration they developed for the resilience that had sustained him throughout his life. There is something uniquely powerful about stories that reveal hidden truths. For decades, countless people had admired Tab Hunter without fully understanding the realities behind his public image. When those realities became better known, they did not diminish his legacy, they strengthened it. Suddenly, audiences were not simply looking at a handsome movie star from Hollywood's golden age. They were looking at a person who had navigated extraordinary pressures while preserving his dignity and humanity. His story also highlighted the tremendous changes society had undergone. The fears that once forced many public figures into silence gradually gave way to greater openness and understanding. While progress was far from perfect, the world that existed in Tab Hunter's later years was dramatically different from the one he encountered at the beginning of his career. That transformation gave added significance to his life story, turning it into a bridge between two very different eras. Many fans who discovered Tab Hunter later in life were struck by his honesty and warmth. Away from the manufactured image created by studio publicity departments, they found someone thoughtful, reflective, and surprisingly humble. Rather than dwelling on bitterness or regret, he often spoke about his experiences with grace and perspective. That attitude earned him respect from people who may never have seen his films, but were inspired by the character he displayed throughout his life. As Hollywood continued celebrating new stars and new stories, Tab Hunter's legacy quietly endured. His films remained part of classic cinema collections. His name continued appearing in discussions about the golden age of entertainment. Most importantly, His personal journey became an example of perseverance for people facing their own struggles. His experiences demonstrated that success is not merely about fame or popularity. It is also about maintaining integrity when circumstances make that difficult. The contrast between the public image and the private reality of his life remains one of the most fascinating aspects of his story. To millions of admirers, he was the ultimate boyfriend, the smiling heartthrob who seemed to embody romance itself. Yet beneath that image was a far more complex individual dealing with challenges invisible to most of the world. The coexistence of those two realities created a story that continues to captivate audiences even decades later in many respects. Tab Hunter's life serves as a reminder that every public figure exists as more than the image presented to the world. Fame often encourages audiences to view celebrities as symbols rather than human beings. His story challenges that perspective. It encourages us to look beyond appearances and recognize the complicated, deeply personal journeys that often exist behind public success. As the years passed, appreciation for Tab Hunter grew not only because of what he accomplished on screen, but because of what he represented off-screen. He became part of a broader conversation about authenticity, acceptance, and the courage required to navigate a world that does not always welcome differences. His experiences helped illuminate a hidden side of Hollywood history and gave voice to countless others whose stories have remained